Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the virtual kickoff event of our flagship initiative on post-harvest loss, supporting India's agriculture sector against post-harvest losses. My name is Indra Ghosh. I'm the acting head of sustainability at the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce, and I'm going to be moderating the session today. Dear participants, today we are joined by distinguished guests, experts, and startup champions. We have many exciting things to unveil to you today. But first of all, we have the honor to welcome Dr. Naveen Patle, who is our keynote speaker. A brief introduction about Dr. Patle is he's the Additional Commissioner, Horticulture, DA and FW Director, Central Institute of Horticulture, and also National Bee Board, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. Dr. Patle has over 22 years of experience in teaching, research, and administration. He has many areas of expertise, such as, to name a few, planning, policy formulation, and program implementation in horticulture sector at national level, as well as research and extension of horticulture, agroforestry, and allied field. Since April 2014, Dr. Patle is with the Department of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare in the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, New Delhi, as Deputy Commissioner of Horticulture, as well as working as Additional Commissioner since September 2020. He is also handling additional charge of Director, Central Institute of Horticulture, Nagaland, since February 2018, and Executive Director of National Bee Board since August 2021. Very warm welcome to you, Dr. Patle. Thank you for being here. The floor is yours for your keynotes. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So now, before starting the few points on post-harvest losses, I would like to share information about the horticulture sector in the country. Already we have crossed the food grain production in the country, and right now the production in horticulture sector is around 330 million metric ton. And with the introduction of the scheme available for support of horticulture sector in the country. Hello, you can hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Please.
Yes.
Yeah, please. So with the introduction of the scheme for horticulture sector, that is the mission for integrated development of horticulture, that has been launched in 2014-15 with a view to enhance the horticulture sector in the country, including post-harvest management. Earlier, we are focusing on production part through various technologies with the help of our ICAR, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, and other state agriculture institutes in the country. Now, the various studies have been done with respect to the post-harvest losses in horticulture sector, including horticulture agriculture sector, and it varies from 5 to 15% as per the various studies done in the country. Depends on the products and their perishability. But thing is that whenever we talk about the production of any crop in the country, there are losses in various stages. At production level, I mean farm level, then after that at your transportation level, even in your storage level also. So considering on that point, the Government of India, with the help of centrally sponsored scheme, that is Mission for Integrated Development of Horticulture, we have covered various aspects in the mission by giving the assistance to the farmers, even processors, and including private sector also. Now coming to the point, because in every state with respect to the agroclimatic conditions, we have different crops in the country. If you talk about the northern region, we have good quality of pineapple, banana, and khasi mandarin in northern region. Even your spices crop in northern region, especially turmeric, ginger. We have very excellent variety. When we talk about the other areas like southern part, we have good strength in spices crops, and we are the leader in production of spices and also in export of spices crops in the country. But thing is that again, out of this 330 million metric ton production in the country, we have good amount of losses that has to be addressed by the various stakeholders, including farmers, then processors, traders, all those stakeholders. Their importance, I mean, their role is very important. So, you know, when we want to promote any sector, then you have to address many points, not only production but post harvest management and including marketing also. So with this view, recently government of India has also launched one scheme, that is, you must be aware about this scheme, the formation of 10,000 FPOs in the country. And we have identified district as per their potential. In every, you must be aware about, in every district there is one crop which is having the strength for livelihood in that district. So that one district, one crop, that is also the focal point for our scheme. So considering all those potential, this new 10,000 formation scheme, the objective is to support the backward and forward linkages in agriculture sector, whether it is for your cereals, for your pulses, or for your horticulture crops. Even in beekeeping sector, I mean production of honey and other beehive products, we have also launched one scheme, National Beekeeping and Honey Mission, in 2020, with a view to support the sector, especially all the stakeholders like beekeepers, processors, traders, and even exporter also. So these are the schemes which are available and addressing the issue of post-harvest losses. If you talk about the horticulture sector, we are addressing, I mean, we want to address the issue of losses at farm level. So we have covered the aspects like establishment of integrated pack house at farm level. At farm level, again, there is a losses, huge losses before transportation or before sending to the market. So we are supporting such integrated pack houses, including facility of cool chambers and other packaging unit at farm level. Apart from that, if you transport your product to the different markets, then we should have the refrigerated vans for your perishable products. So we are also supporting such kind of products or such kind of facilities under our mission. Then coming to the big projects, big component under the mission, that is the cold storages. Again, in cold storages, we are supporting for multi-commodity cold storages, for your CA cold storage also. So these are the components which are widely accepted by the state government, widely accepted by the other stakeholders, especially private players in the country. And now we have good strength in cold storage structures. But again, some modifications with respect to the climatic conditions, with respect to the crops also, that has to be done at technology level. Then another important point is the support to the farmers, producer organizations, support to the individual entrepreneurs. We have also launched one scheme. Government of India has also launched one scheme, that is the Agri Infrastructure Fund, creation of Agri Infrastructure Fund for entrepreneurs, for startup or FPO also. So under that, we are we are subsidizing the interest rate which is taken by the banks especially commercial banks, when you are going to the banks for bank loan. Apart from subsidy, the interest is also being subsidized by giving the interest subvention under Agri Infrastructure Fund. So such kind of huge support is available under schemes also and under Agri Infrastructure Fund. And under Agri Infrastructure Fund, mainly we are covering processing, I mean post-harvest units, which are required during, I mean, to address the losses in agriculture sector. Then even at farm level, because Ministry of Agriculture, we are focusing on minimum processing units. At least farm level, we have to stop the losses, or we have to process the products at primary level. So for that also we are supporting some units, primary processing units at farm level, so that farmers or their farmer groups, they can process their products at farm level and then they can send to another players which are involved in secondary processing. So these are the components available under our schemes. Then another very important scheme which have been launched in 2020, that is the National Beekeeping and Honey Mission. You know, nowadays honey is the focus area with respect to the COVID also, and last 2 years the consumption of honey is increasing day by day. Even last year, country has exported around 60,000 metric ton honey to different parts of the world. And the production, we are also touching the production around 1.25 lakhs metric ton in the country. So with this potential, we are also focusing on the production and post-harvest management of this sector. You know, for processing of honey, we need the good processing units. For testing of honey, we need good testing units. And apart from that, we are also supporting trading, I mean aggregation, trading, branding, packaging unit for honey sector. So with this objective, this National Beekeeping Honey Mission has been launched, and now, you know, in honey sector and other beehive products are also available, which required attention, because not only honey, the other beehive products like royal jelly, bee venom, pollens are getting attention nowadays, because now it is called as a superfood. And other than this, propolis is also there. These are the beehive products. During the formation of honey, some other products are also formed. So these byproducts are also need attention, especially from income generation point of view and also from your processing point of view. So now, with the support of state government, with the support of other implementing agencies, in case especially NAFED and TRIFED is involved in marketing support in tribal areas, and also NAFED, they are involved in making of FPOs in the country. Other than this, we have identified one big agency, National Dairy Development Board, and last year they have launched Amul honey in the country. So again, NDDB, you know, they are working with milk unions in different parts of the country, and they have very strong base in milk production area with the help of milk unions. But in honey sector, they also need this support, especially for processing and testing of honey. So they are also implementing our programs in the country, and we have identified 100 districts, 100 honey clusters in the country, which are being looked after by 3 implementing agencies, especially NDDB, NAFED, and TRIFED. So why we are focusing on this FPO model? Because we want to support the grassroots farmers, grassroots beekeepers who are having, I mean, in your supply chain, or you call it value chain, the weakest part is our grassroots level farmers or beekeepers. So with the help of their group strength, we want to give the end-to-end support to the very grassroots level stakeholders, which are important for any supply chain in any sector. So especially in agriculture sector, when you talk about the supply chain, definitely we have to strengthen that. So with this objective, we have many schemes, even for organic farming also, in case of production of organic products, processing of organic products. We have this scheme, a mission, especially for Northern region, that is the mission for value chain for Northern region, we call it MOVCD. And other than this one, we have another scheme for other states, that is PKVY, Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, which also covers the production and processing part of organic products. So number of schemes are available, and we are implementing with the help of state government and other central government agencies in the states, and with the help of those agencies we are getting good results. But only thing is that again we have to make more awareness, especially for some startup, some FPOs, so that they can come with proper structures and they can enhance their livelihood, and I mean they can enhance their income for their FPOs or for their society also. So thank you very much. I would like to thank again to organizers to invite me on for this topic, especially post-harvest losses, which is a very burning issue everywhere at every platform, and it has to be addressed by with the help of every stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bartley, for the overview of the schemes that are available in the post-harvest loss topic in India. So, ladies and gentlemen, participants, the kickoff event today is organized within the framework of Innovative Platform and Hybrid Trade Fair, Reducing Post-Harvest Losses in India project, assisted by the German government and carried out by the IGCC on behalf of GIZ GmbH. It is our pleasure to welcome our partner, Ms. Elke Peiler, who is the advisor I4AG cooperation with the private sector GIZ GmbH. Ms. Peiler, would like to request for your opening remarks in the session. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Ghosh. Dear Dr. Patley, dear Ms. Brasha, dear Mr. Ghosh, good afternoon and good morning to all participants, and my warmest welcome to our distinguished guests, Mr. Mathur, Mr. Agarwal, and Mr. Rajmohan. After having had the pleasure to contribute to the opening of the virtual master session on the prevention of post-harvest losses in India in November last year, I am now very delighted to have been given again the opportunity to deliver the welcome address together with Ms. Brasha for today's kickoff event. As those of you know who participated in the last session, the issue of post-harvest losses is very important to me, as I myself have worked as a farmer for many years and know exactly what it means. Post-harvest losses mean a double loss. They do not only result in a lower amount of available food, but at the same time they imply a waste of resources that are used to produce them, such as water, which in many regions is scarce anyway, or fertilizer and other inputs that are costly. In addition, post-harvest losses put greater pressure on farmland, which can lead to deforestation and can cause environmental destruction. I do not want to anticipate Mr. Ghosh's presentation. He will go into the results of the experts' consultations afterwards and will also present the planned measures of the initiative and the selected value chains. However, I would like to stress a few points that our experts highlighted in November and that have especially stayed in my mind. Agriculture is a very important sector in India, and as it brings tremendous benefits and opportunities to hundreds of millions of people in the country. Dr. Yadav of the Ministry of Agriculture stated in November that the agricultural sector provides livelihood to around 58% of the Indian population. He also pointed out that farmers are unable to sell up to 40% of the total fruits and vegetables produced for the market, which means a loss of around 745 million euro. Professor Das from the Assam Agricultural University mentioned that addressing post-harvest losses will ensure food security for people below the poverty line. This is why it is extremely important to urgently reduce these losses to make India's food systems more efficient, environmentally sound and resilient. And it's therefore a great pleasure to have two companies here today, New Leaf Dynamic Technologies and Green Pots Labs, that have already developed innovative solutions to take a first step in that direction. We will have the chance to get to know these innovations later, and I'm very excited to learn how they work. I'm thus very delighted that we can hopefully make a valuable contribution to reducing post-harvest losses in India with our initiative Innovation Platform with a hybrid trade fair format. The measure, which is being implemented by the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce on behalf of GIZ, will contribute to identifying local problems, to jointly developing new solutions, and promoting innovations in the agricultural sector, and eventually to increasing farmers' income. I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere thanks to all those involved whose valuable contributions will make this initiative a success. Especially to our esteemed guests, I would like to extend again a warm welcome for being here today. We really look forward to your insights and to today's kickoff event to be the starting point of our initiative. Thank you very much. And I hand back over to Mr. Ghosh.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pilot. It was a pleasure to have you in our session in the post-harvest loss. Next, I would like to invite our Deputy Director General, Indo-German Chamber of Commerce, Ms. Sonia Prasha, to say a few words.
Thank you, Indras. First of all, good morning and good evening. Let's say good afternoon to colleagues and friends from India and Germany who are joining the session today, and a very warm welcome on behalf of the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce. I am personally very pleased and honored to have the opportunity to participate at today's kickoff event on a very pertinent topic, supporting India's agriculture sector against post-harvest losses. We at the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce, being active in the country since 66 years, are very happy to cooperate with GIZ, Deutsche Gesellschaft für internationale Zusammenarbeit, Germany, for undertaking this noble initiative that seeks to support the farmers in India to prevent the post-harvest losses along selected and most important, very important agricultural value chains. Thank you, Dr. Patle, for setting the context. Thank you that you could join us today. We would like to stay in touch with you on this topic. And thank you, Ms. Pilar, for giving the overview of this particular initiative. And what we are looking forward to is basically fruitful and productive deliberations which are emerging from the presentations today, which will benefit India and other developing countries as well. Let me conclude, because I would not take away too much time from the experts who are actually experts on this topic, enlightening us how can we work with this big panel and experts on this topic to prevent post-harvest losses. And let me conclude in advance by thanking all the speakers and participants who've contributed to make this event a success. We shall stay in touch, and we will be looking forward to fruitful interactions. So over to you, Indras, and looking forward to a great session.
Thank you very much, Ms. Prashad. Dear participants, we have a really exciting session ahead of us, and we have been blessed with a lineup of experts who will be sharing their insights here today. Before that, I would like to share a short presentation with you, underlining what kind of measures we will be taking, the kind of initiative that we will be rolling out in the next year or so in this particular initiative. So I hope my screen is shown.
Not anymore.
Okay, excuse me, sorry.
Now we can see it.
Yes. So this is an overview of our post-harvest loss initiative, and the theme is using innovation to support Indian farmers and investing in a greener future. So how are we going to do that in the next 12 to 15 months? So how does the post-harvest loss impact you? To put it in a simple term, post-harvest loss impact everyone. This includes farmers, not only farmers, but wholesalers, retailers, and consumers. And we have actually created a small video to explain how post-harvest loss will impact everyone in the supply chain.
Indras, we cannot hear the sound of the video. We can just see it.
Can you see it now?
We could see it, but we couldn't hear anything.
No?
No, not yet.
Okay. Seems we are facing a little bit of audio issue here. What we'll do is we'll share the video link on the chat box so everyone can take a look at how the post-harvest loss will impact everybody. We do apologize for the technical issues here. And yeah. So just to build upon how post-harvest losses in India are occurring. Right now, it affects all the farmers, and the greatest impact of post-harvest loss is felt by small farmers, since 80% of Indian farmers are smallholders farmers. This essentially creates a situation where farmers in India have to sell their produce at very low prices because they do not have really good infrastructure to ensure the quality of their harvest is maintained as the harvest season increases or as it goes on. How many of the crops harvested are lost? The answer is up to 40%, depending on the type of crops and fruits and pulses. And this has created a major loss in terms of investment and income, as much as rupees 90,000 crores, more than 90,000 crore rupees loss in income annually, which of course reduces a farmer's income. And of course, that means less money coming into a farmer's pocket, as you know, because of their hard work during farming. So how are we going to solve this, or rather to minimize the impact of post-harvest loss? The answer is innovation and engagement, and we eventually want to make sure that our farmers in India will benefit from higher prices, stable prices, as well as a greater access to market. And for this reason, we are launching an innovative platform to tackle post-harvest losses across India under the banner Fasal Ki Raksha, Bhavishya Ki Suraksha, which means protection of crops, protection of the future. We are going to unveil a series of activities and measures which will reduce post-harvest loss of farmers in the country. The broad activities that we will do in this initiative is the promotion of innovation. For this, we will be working with a number of startups who have demonstrated innovative solutions to tackle post-harvest loss. The two of those companies are here today to share their insights and also to promote their best practices. And we want to ensure that Indian startups are at the center of this initiative. The second is a digital platform plus an app so that we can reach as many people as we can in India. And this digital platform will be accessible later on during the year to interact and to also solve post-harvest loss challenges across India. And last but not least, we'll also be emphasizing on engagement, not only with suppliers, but also different stakeholders in a trade fair, which we will roll out in Q4 of 2022. So do stay tuned for that. So for this initiative, we are focusing on specifically 4 crops: tomatoes, onion, potatoes, and apples. As Ms. Pyler mentioned before, these crops have been chosen as part of our fact-finding master session earlier during the year, where we invited experts from India and Germany to brainstorm on what kind of crops should we focus on to make sure that we have the maximum impact in the topic. I think the crops in focus represent the importance of both India and Germany, since, for example, tomatoes, onion, and potatoes are very, very important crops in India, but at the same time, apples are also important for Indo-German trade. So the crops in focus are tomatoes, onion, potatoes, and apples. So how does it look like? We want to create a better harvest season for farmers, and essentially to provide stable food supply for consumers and stable prices for farmers and consumers. And here we will use innovation to work with startups working on innovative products, as well as engagement with stakeholders in the agriculture sector and farmers. And the result, hopefully, to double the farmers' income in line with the Indian government mission of doubling farmers' income as well. We want to plan a better future, better tomorrow together. And this is why we invite you to join our interaction today. You can join us at slido.com, or you can scan the QR code that is on your screen. If you have any questions, any ideas that you wish us to do in the initiative, just go on the app and interact with us, and we would love to hear from you over here. Without much further ado, I would like to welcome our next speaker, Mr. Hemendra Mathur, who is a very famous expert in the area of agriculture. Short introduction of Mr. Hemendra Mathur is the CEO of over 25 years of experience in venture capital, private equity, management consulting, and banking. Mr. Mathur is also has invested in several early-stage agri-tech, mid-sized companies in the agriculture supply chain, and he is also an investor, board member, advisor of many food and agri-tech startups. He is currently working as a venture partner with Bharat Innovation Fund, investing in early-stage deep tech startups across sectors. Hemendra is also the co-founder of Think AG, a platform for acceleration, the adoption of innovation and agri-space. Without much further ado, Mr. Mathur, the floor is yours to share how does post-harvest loss impact us and what kind of opportunities are there in this topic.
Thank you, Indras, and thank you the entire IGCC team for inviting me to speak at this forum. It's a pleasure to be part of this panel, and thank you, Dr. Patle and Ms. Pellier, for wonderful opening remarks. And good to see Akash and Deepak, two ambassadors from the agri-tech ecosystem, who are working very hard to reduce post-harvest losses as part of this panel. So thank you very much once again, and it's a pleasure to be part of this forum. I have 15 minutes, so I have divided my talk in two parts. First, I want to talk about the factors which are driving post-harvest losses. I think that is very important to understand for all of us. And then a little bit about innovations. I think Indra's already touched upon it, but I would like to just expand a bit in terms of the kind of innovation that we see, which can significantly reduce post-harvest losses and waste. So just starting with what are the factors which are driving food losses in India? If you look at the food consumption of the country, as we speak, it's about $600 billion, significantly large, and it's a matter of time. In next 5 to 7 years, we could be $1 trillion food economy. So it's clearly one of the founding pillars of the economy. Of course, source of livelihood for millions of farmers, and of course, the entire population of the country is dependent on agriculture. If you look at the food losses, I think Indra's already presented a number of 90,000 crore plus. That was from a study done by CIFET in 2015. And I think if you sort of benchmark, food loss to food consumption from 2015 to 2022, my guess is, as we stand today, though we don't have a study as of today, but my guess is that number has already crossed about $20 billion. So almost from 14 to $20 billion of food losses. And if you project it on $1 trillion food economy, this number could well be close to $40 billion. So that's a large amount of food. It's not just quantity loss. I think it's also quality loss. So someone is paying for it, either the consumer or the farmer. So I think that's the challenge that we have on hand. And as we all see the climate risk and pressure on natural resources, it's high time that we look at food loss from different angles. And that's where I think we should need to look at what are the factors which are really driving it. And I've divided the factors into two parts, the demand side factors and the supply side factors. If we look at the demand side factors, I think we should look at how the consumption of food is changing in a country like India. We are definitely consuming more milk, we're consuming more fruits, more vegetables, more animal protein, more eggs, and the share of staples, which is wheat, rice, pulses, oil seeds, is going down. In absolute terms, they are still growing with population, but as a share of pie, the share of perishables is significantly more than non-perishables. And very broadly, India produces about 1,000 million tons of food products across all categories, staples and fruits and vegetables and animal protein and milk. I would say almost 500 to 600 million tons of this 1,000 million tons is perishable in nature, right? So that's a significant shift. Of course, it doesn't happen overnight. It maybe took a few decades to see this shift, but we need to recognize this shift that, of course, it's great, because it's going to increase the availability of proteins and fibers and, which a human body needs. But at the same time, it is putting pressure in building solutions which can address the post-harvest losses, because most of the products which are increasing its share are perishable in nature. I think that's first factor. Second factor is, as Indians, we continue to buy fresh. We have a penchant to buy fresh products. A refrigerator is a very small size, right? Most of the consumers buy their food products almost on a daily basis or a bi-weekly basis, and thankfully, we have so many e-com platforms which can deliver food within 10 minutes now. So I think that is not going to change, and that's why the processing levels continue to be low. There's a study by Ministry of Food Processing Industry as of 2021. Across all categories, the processing level is still 10%, right? So which means that 90% is consumed as good as fresh, right? So I think that is another factor that we should keep in mind. Of course, the processing levels will go up. I don't have a doubt on that, but it's not going to significantly change, at least for next decade or so. Third thing, which is also critical, what we are seeing in, especially in last couple of decades, though the production is confined to certain geographies for most products, right? Like basmati rice, you are in Punjab and Haryana, right? Apples, hilly areas, your Alfonso mangoes. Konkan, lychee, Bihar. So I think most of the production is climate related, and that's why we see clusters of production. But if you look at the demand, it's becoming homogenized. With change in demographics, this whole millennial generation, the Gen Z generation, we are seeing homogenization in demand. We are seeing South India consuming a lot of wheat flour, for example, right? So I think that is also an interesting phenomena which we should be cognizant of, that the demand is getting homogenized, which means a lot of food products are traveling more. Apples are going all the way from J&K to Tamil Nadu, right? So I think that is the number of food miles are increasing, right? So that again put pressure on us. How do we reduce losses in storage and transportation? So I think these are few demand side factors which I think we should be cognizant of as we build a strategy to tackle food losses. On the supply side, I think the challenges are well known. First and foremost, the Indian food supply chain. I always say it's one of the most complex supply chains in the world across any category, because between farmer and consumer, there are about 6 to 11 intermediaries, which really makes it long, right? Multiple handling points, a lot of wastages at multiple points, challenges around aggregation, disaggregation, intermediation. So I think, again, of course, supply chain will become organized, with front end especially becoming more organized. I'm sure back end will also respond to that. But we should be cognizant of the fact that there are a lot of intermediaries in the supply chain which will not go away anytime soon. Second, I think it's been mentioned earlier also, we lack physical infrastructure, both for ambient temperature storage as well as for cold storage. Most of the cold storage, and I think Akash can talk about it, is dedicated to potato in India, 80–85%. And other fruits which also need cold storage, they really don't get that kind of facilities. And it's even if the cold storage is there, it can't manage multiple temperature levels, multiple humidity levels, and stuff like that. So I think they need to be upgraded big time. And most of the warehouses that we see in India are catering to processors and traders, not really farmers. Then there are typically 5,000 tons, 15,000 tons, 20,000 tons. Farmer with 2 jute bags won't be entertained in these warehouses. So I think that is also a big challenge. That's why a lot of farmers don't have an option to store but to sell immediately after the harvest. And the last point I want to mention on the supply side is the climate risk. I think there's hardly any industry which is impacted by change in climate, but I would say agriculture is the most vulnerable industry as far as climate change is concerned. And smallholder farmers who earn $2,000 a year, they are probably the most vulnerable lot in the world, when it comes to climate change. We are seeing temperature shocks, we are seeing flash floods. Dr. Saab talked about honeybee. Honeybee population is decreasing. I don't know whether it's attributable to climate change, but probably one of the big factors. So that is causing a lot of pre-harvest losses between sowing to harvest, and also post-harvest losses, because the moisture levels, the infestation levels, it's become difficult to predict. So I think that's the sort of canvas that I want to paint, and I may have missed out on some of the factors, so please add to the list. So what are the solutions? And I'm a big believer that innovations are the key. I'm so happy to report that as we speak, there are about 1,300 agri-tech startups in this country. And my biggest hope for this sector are these startups. 2 of them are on this panel. And I must say they are the ones who are challenging the status quo, who are working with some bit of urgency, and who have the entrepreneurial energy to bring the change. Of course, we need policy, we need infrastructure, financing, everything is important. But if you don't have entrepreneurial energy, a lot of these models fall flat. And that's my biggest hope, that we can solve for it. And there are, again, a multitude of innovations, and it's difficult to classify them in a bucket. But if I look at from a PHL lens, probably, again, there are 2 or 3 buckets. The first and foremost, I want to talk about digital technology, which is becoming omnipresent in Indian agriculture. And why it is important? Because its utility in capturing data on real-time basis with a lot of accuracy, building predictive models, And most importantly, building supply chain alignment with the demand. So this whole demand supply arbitrage, which causes a lot of losses, can be addressed through data interventions. As I said, demand doesn't change overnight. There's a pattern. It takes decades to change. But supply is, you can't predict, because 160 million hectares of land and so many crops, so many cropping seasons, 150 million farmers. How do you capture data on the supply side? That's a challenge. Government comes with an estimate, but usually it takes time, months. Before that, a lot of loss has already happened. And thankfully, we have now satellite imagery, we have drones, we have sensors, IoT devices, we have spectrometers, we have smartphones, which can capture data, and it can report data on multiple things. To put it simply, crop signature, what crop is being grown in what farm, crop health monitoring, weather monitoring, soil health monitoring, potential yields, harvest schedules. And this data can flow not just to farmers to take action, but also to the supply chain players, the processors, the agri-input suppliers, the bankers, right? Insurance companies. A lot of data, in fact, is being used by valuation players. So I think this whole data arbitrage, because of which we end up making wrong decisions, can drive a lot of changes in the way food is being grown and stored and distributed and consumed, and essentially directly or indirectly reducing the losses that we see in the food supply chain. So I think that's first and foremost. Of course, there is a lot of tech which is also enabling quality assaying. So this remote trading of agriculture commodity, which has all been a challenge, can be addressed through objective quality assaying through and user devices like smartphones and spectrometers. And there are some wonderful startups in space, like on the satellite imagery, we have like SatSure and Cropin, quality assaying, we have Agnext, Intalo Labs, RobTech, Infiu Labs, doing wonderful work. Second comes the lake of, second is the solutions around post-harvest management, especially micro warehousing and cold chain solutions. Right? As I said, a lot of warehousing in India is not meant for farmers, but we are seeing some very interesting models from places like Arya, Argos, Origo, Star Agri, NCML, NBSCs, who are trying to build a platform for warehouse discovery for farmers. And also building a digital layer by which you can sort of audit the stock, you can value the stock. And in most cases, farmer need financing for post-harvest for the immediate need of liquidity. So you can also get a loan once your stock is inside the warehouse. And most of these models also help farmer to auction their produce, build market linkage, and help bankers to lend more efficiently. So it's a very interesting combination of a physical and digital infrastructure, which is solving the problem. That's on the warehousing side. On the cold chain side, again, we have the expert on this call. I don't want to talk more about it, but all I want to say that we are seeing some interesting innovations on farm level cold chain solutions. Of course, New Leaf is one of them. Others are EcoZen, Promethean, InfiCold. I think they're developing some very interesting solutions for farm level storage. There's a startup called Sabzi Cooler, which has developed a very affordable cold storage for vegetables in the farm itself. Promethean, InfiCold is doing a lot of work on the milk side also, building bulk milk coolers and chillers. I think the challenge out there is affordability. How do we make it more affordable? I think that's extremely important, so that the users can be can become more mainstream, right? So that's on the cold chain side. And one more thing I want to add, like we need a lot of decentralized storage and cold chain solution. We also need a lot of decentralized processing. I think that is another big opportunity in waiting. We hardly have farm level processing infrastructure in India, and that needs to be strengthened a lot. And why I'm saying that, because a lot of losses happen immediately after the harvest. And I'll give you two examples. One is a company called As4S Technologies, which is developed low-cost dehydrator. So you can, as soon as the product is out, sort of as soon as the farmer sells the product or gives the product, it can be dehydrated immediately. Most of it is run by micro entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs. I think they are doing a fantastic job. There are like more than 500, 600 micro entrepreneurs already doing this dehydration. And the reason it is successful because as far as buyback everything which is being dehydrated, I think the market linkage is extremely critical. Otherwise a lot of this capacity may fall flat. So I think that's one example. Our Food is another example, which has done a phenomenal job in building micro-processing units like a flour mill, a spices grinding machine, right at the farm level. And again, helping those entrepreneurs to not just set it up, but also assuring them a market linkage that whatever you process will buy. I think that is what it is driving the growth in this. And the last solution that I want to talk about is aggregation of farm produce. I think that is another big and very important intervention in my opinion. We typically have mandis who are doing this. There were 7,000 odd large mandis and probably about 20,000 odd smaller mandis, but they are not equipped enough to handle the growth, and the infrastructure is outdated. Their distribution across the countries is not uniform, right? Sometimes farmers travel hundreds of kilometers to sell their produce. So how do we build aggregation models near farm? And we have seen likes of Dehat and a Ninja Cart, a Waycool, a Jumbo Tail, a Shop Kirana, Super Job. These startups, I think what they're doing, they are typically building demand-driven supply chains. Typically, demand is aggregated from Horeca, from mom and pop stores, from institutional buyers, from e-com players, from processing companies, SMEs, and they build a supply chain and build a collection center near farm and a distribution center near the consumption area. I think that is the typical model, but there's a lot of tech involved. I wouldn't say rocket science, but tech for route optimization, tech for inventory control, tech for quality assaying, and that really makes it interesting because this whole supply chain, which is so disorganized, I think it gets organized. A lot of data gets created, a lot of data gets shared in the whole supply chain because of these players. They're integrating the supply chain, right, from farm to distribution to retail. So I think that is another large focus area. In fact, a lot of investments in agri-tech has gone into this part of the segment. Last but not the least, where I want to see more momentum is deep tech. How do we create deep tech solution? And I'm so happy that Deepak is on the call, who's built a very interesting solution to increase the shelf life of fruits through innovative and edible packaging. So I think that is another area which needs more R&D, I guess. I know the product development cycles are longer. Most investors don't have that kind of patience, but nonetheless, I think this is a large area where we need to put a lot of effort and build some really deep tech solution which can potentially reduce the food loss. So I think that's again a canvas. I may have missed a few innovations, but nonetheless, I think it's a great start. I must say, in the last 5 years, we've seen significant amount of momentum. We've seen almost $2.5 billion of venture capital coming into the sector, which used to be always struggling for fundraising, but fortunately, we've seen a lot of momentum out there, and I'm very hopeful that that momentum will continue, and post-harvest losses and wastage will become a key core area for a lot of these entrepreneurs. Whether it could be direct intervention, indirect intervention, that's immaterial, but that is going to be very, very core to the scaling of these models. All I want to say, as IGCC and as the ecosystem, we need to work a bit harder. We need to work with some bit of urgency. All we can do is to build partnerships, which can help scale these solutions. And there's also an element of financing. I think Dr. Sab also mentioned about AIF scheme, which is helping to create assets at the farm level. So I think we need some more financing to create this infrastructure which is needed. Whether we like it or not, whether like it or not, in country like India, where farm lending is so fragmented, it has to be decentralized. So it's typically asset value is going to be in the range of 1 lakh to 10 lakh, which may not be attractive for bankers. How far they will go and lend those, and that's where I see these startups, coming as a channel partners and helping bankers to finance. So with that, I would like to conclude. I probably have taken more time, but thanks very much. I hope it was useful, and very much look forward to interesting presentation from Akash and Deepak. Thank you, Indras, and over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Thank you. And I really like how you give an overview of the vibrant startup ecosystem in India and how they're working together, or should work together as well to tackle post-harvest loss in India. Speaking of innovation and startups, we have two startup champions with us here to share their innovative solutions to tackle post-harvest loss. The first one, I would like to introduce Mr. Deepak Rajmohan, CEO of Greenpot Labs. He has a master's in food science from Oklahoma State University, USA, and has more than 7 years of research experience in food biotech and agriculture. Greenpot Labs is an agri-tech startup developing biotech-based packaging to extend the shelf life of fruit, vegetables at ambient temperature. Deepak, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks, Indras. If you could pull up the presentation, we can get started. Awesome. Yeah, probably the previous, the one before that. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity. Really appreciate. Great to be here. Good to see everyone to be discussing about the post-harvest losses. It's one of our deep passions to solve this problem, and it's good to start these conversations with that. Indras, can you pass on the next slide? So already Indras has mentioned, and Yamandra Mathur sir also mentioned about the losses. So $12 billion on fruits and vegetables is something we've looked into, and overall 40% is lost. On top of the economic loss and food loss, we are also deeply passionate about the environmental damage. About like 2.6 gigatons of greenhouse gas emissions impacted from food waste, which we see something which can be eliminated by reducing the food wastage. So yeah, Indras, next slide. So we've taken as Hemandra Mathur mentioned on different solutions, we've taken a different route in terms of like developing solutions. We saw from the perspective of like what can be scalable and what can be implemented throughout the supply chain. And there are different solutions, cold storage and cold supply chain, and many other solutions available. But we wanted to like leverage the technology of biotechnology, which could accelerate changes from the overall crop physiology point of view. So that's the point of view we took. So we've used a science called defense mechanism, which is inbound metabolic changes, what happens within the fruit and vegetable to help defend itself from external stress. So we're using that science. By activating that science, we can help fruit and vegetable to fight against its external stress in terms of temperature, mold growth, microbial growth, and all those things. So we use all plant extracts and plant polymer to do that. And the R&D did take a longer time. So I think that's one key challenge here. Taking up any of these biotechnology solutions, it takes a longer R&D. But we've used more science approach in terms of like using lean methodology and then using more rapid prototyping technologies to accelerate our innovation. So that's the reason why we were able to develop our solution in less than 1.5 years. So in this next slide. So the product comes in a small sachet form, and as I mentioned before, we go very specific to each crop. So we understand what's the crop physiology and what's the spoilage requirement for each crop, and then based on that, develop our product. So the sachets just have to be dropped. Next slide. So the sachet, you just have to drop it within a fruit or vegetable crate, and then that releases volatile compounds by which it slows down the ripening rate or prevent any microbial growth. But we do that from a perspective of each crop. So that's one thing which is lacking across all the innovations. I feel like the research part, because like the technology, what can work for tomatoes doesn't work for a strawberry, because the physiology and the changes what happens in tomatoes is completely different for what happens in strawberries, mangoes, and everything. So I think our R&D has been more in terms of like understanding the crop very specific. I think that's one key learnings what we have got. We were able to develop solution which can extend the shelf life by 40 to 60% across all different crops because we were going very deep into each crop. In the next slide. So we've done all the testings at ambient temperatures. So I think that's one key differentiation what we wanted to bring. We wanted to make the product work at ambient temperatures because we can like probably depend less on cold storage and cold supply chain, and capital intensive can be lower on that as well. That's the reason why we have tested all the products at ambient temperatures. At ambient temperatures, we are able to provide 40 to 60% improvement. So for pomegranates, Indra's next slide. So we've developed the product for figs, fresh figs. Next slide. Tomatoes. Next one. Strawberries, and recently we've also completed for mangoes. Next slide. I think on top of just the functionality, right? So we also wanted to make sure how can more consumers can adopt this technology. The adoption will happen only when you prove that all the ingredients what you use and the product what you have is safe. So more than the functionality, we were also very cognizant of the product safety. So we've done several testings with a product to prove that there's no residue of our product on the crop. And then also by use of product, the nutrition of the crop is not impacted. So we had to take all those measures to make sure the consumers and our customers are open to try a product and validate a product. Next slide. So we looked at the overall farm to fork supply chain and looked at different stakeholders. And we understood that the crop losses and the post-harvest losses are happening in all the different segments at different scales. So farmers are losing about 8 to 10% at the farm gate level, and then to reach the nearby mandi. And their losses are also happening because when there's a price fluctuation, the farmers are not able to save the produce and maintain that. So we targeted farmers from that perspective. So we were very focused on how can we help them. And so similar to that, we were looking at other two custom segments as well. So the value drivers, we had to adapt our product in such a way that we provide value drivers in different perspectives. One side, by extending the shelf life, obviously there's the economic value because we are increasing the bottom line sales. And we're enabling a lot of these stakeholders to enter new market as well. There are a lot of cases where we help farmers potentially help them to move to new cities and stuff. So I think those enabling things, not just reducing the food wastage, but also helping them reach new markets is something which we can do by reducing the losses. So next one. Next slide, please. In this next slide. Yeah. So I think the other thing what we also wanted to make sure is like, how can we make this product more Indian focused? So looking at this type of technologies, India, there's not too many companies in India in this type of technologies. Globally, there are companies like Appeal Science, Faisal Technologies, and Mori and other companies who are focused on developing solutions for international market, where cold storage and cold supply chain is very much established. So in India, we don't have a cold storage and cold supply chain across all different segments. So we wanted to develop solution which is very targeted for each crop. So understanding the crop and developing solution which is cost effective, which can be adopted throughout the supply chain. That's how we felt like we can address this market well. So I think that's one key differentiation, what I would say. So developing solutions within this segment, I think has to be cost effective. It has to be very targeted for each crop because we can provide added value on top of that. And then a solution which can scale across the overall supply chain was another thing what we focused on. Next slide. So yeah, so our team is over here. We are a team of scientists and directors. Next slide. I would like to end the session saying that we strongly believe food waste and food loss is a preventable problem. It's just a matter of like bringing more scalable solutions and more technologies across all throughout the supply chain and provide added value to it. So happy to be presenting here. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Deepa, for a very interesting walkthrough of what you have been doing in the last few years. I think what I find quite impressive is you also look at the functionality of the product, as well as the safety of the product, as well as the keeping to make sure that the nutritional value is also kept here, which I think is quite important for consumers as well. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the option.
Thank you. Next, we would like to invite the second champion on startup tackling post-harvest loss, Mr. Akash Agarwal, who is the CEO of New Leaf Dynamic Technologies Private Limited. So Akash is passionate to create impact on farming sector, and it just drives him to understand key problems to eliminate food loss in the supply chain. He has traveled extensively to remote villages to understand market demand, adaptation of cycle for cold rooms. This led him to innovate a biomass-powered refrigeration technology for cold storage, pre-cooling, ripening, dehydration, all to reduce post-harvest losses in the food supply chain. He has applied for 2 patents and authored a paper in Elsevier journal and won 15 plus recognition from worldwide. He has also presented technology on various media platforms such as NDTV, Z Business, Outlook Business, and more, and has collaborated with world-renowned business universities like IIT Patna and Georgia Institute of Technology. Without further ado, Akash, the floor is yours, and you can present your presentations.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ghosh. I hope you can see my screen.
Perfectly, yes.
Yes. So thank you so much for inviting me to this series on post-harvest loss. I am Akash Agarwal, CEO of New Leaf Dynamic Technologies. And we at New Leaf have innovated a very unique technology to reduce the post-harvest loss across the supply chain using a biomass-powered refrigeration system that we have named as Green Chill. So started almost a decade ago. We at New Leaf had envisioned to utilize a renewable source of energy and provide access to refrigeration to more than 5 lakh Indian villages to reduce the post-harvest loss and to build micro enterprises to reduce and increase the shelf life of the perishable produce, mainly fruits and vegetables and flowers. So the aim was to efficiently use the local source of energy that is biomass, which is available 24 hours, 365 days at the farm gate, and also across the country wherever needed. So with this, the aim was to provide a safe storage across the subcontinent, across the country, and provide a multi-purpose cold room, just like a tractor. A tractor can be used at a rural household, at a farm, for various operations. Similarly, to provide a cold room having a multi-purpose operation. So a cold room could be utilized for a cold storage, pre-cooler, ripening, or dehydration at the same time. With this, not only it turned out not only to be a product company, but we also helped the farming community build forward and backward market linkages. So we helped them build a linkage for the biomass. We helped them get access to finance to install a cold room, and also help them provide a forward market linkage to sell their produce at the right time and at a right price in the market. So while looking at the current scenario and why there is a high post-harvest loss in this country, so there are 3 basic reasons. One is a high cost of cooling, and that is predominantly due to the high cost of power to run a conventional cold room, which is anywhere between 8 rupees to 12 rupees a unit for a 3-phase grid power. Unfortunately, solar has not been able to fulfill demand in all the parts of the country because solar is only available for only 40% of the time, and remaining 60% has to be backed up by a 3-phase grid power or a diesel generating set. And third is India's commitment to turn net zero by 2070. But unfortunately, use of harmful refrigerants for cooling and use of the grid power is a not clean source of energy. So we know the emission factor of the grid power is 0.82, so which increases the emissions coming out from the grid power as well as the harmful refrigerants. We developed this biomass powered refrigeration system to be used across the supply chain at the farm gate or at the distribution center to store fruits, vegetables, flowers, or any other kind of perishable produce between 2 to 25 degrees temperature range, provide a relative humidity as needed at the user end, and store up to 20 tons of produce, which means up to 1,000 crates at the farm gate. So using green chill, a cold room can be turned into a multi-purpose room that can be utilized as a cold storage, pre-cooler, ripening chamber, or as a dehydrator. Or green chill can also be integrated with a bulk milk cooler, or green chill can also be used as air conditioning for growing the mushrooms, or even in a tissue culture lab. So the primary source of energy for running a green chill system is either biomass in a pelletized form or in its loose form. So any kind of biomass that is locally available can be used to run a green chill system. If at industrial setting, green chill can be powered by using waste heat or even steam. So green chill is, I would say, green on both the counts, using a green refrigerant, which is ammonia, having a 0 ozone depletion potential and a 0 global warming potential, and having a 0 carbon footprint by using a clean source of energy. So how does a green chill work? So green chill is just like just as simple to operate as a conventional compressor. You feed in the biomass once a day, and you need only say an average of 60 to 90 kgs of biomass per day to run up to a 20 metric ton cold room. So you feed a biomass once a day or once in 2 days to maintain 2 to plus 25 degrees temperature in the cold room. We call this an adsorption refrigeration system that New Leaf has developed from scratch. And unlike the compressor system, the green chill technology uses less than 5% grid power, which means uses only 500 watts of grid power, that too single phase, compared to a conventional compressor, which uses approximately 8 kilowatt hours of grid power in 3 phase. Some of the benefits of using a green chill system are it has 10 times the pre-cooling capacity compared to a solar cold room. So green chill can pre-cool 5 tons per batch, which means 250 crates in about 10 hours time. The running cost of green chill is typically 1/4 of a conventional compressor. So it basically depends on the cost of biomass. If the cost of biomass at the farm gate is 0, then the cost of running a green chill is 0. Green shell can be used for various applications because of its varied temperature range. Also, green shell can be run on a home connection, so it does not require three-phase connection. So simply at a farm gate, without having an additional expense on the grid, you could run a cold room at the farm gate, and you could use any source of energy to run these cold rooms. So this means you can store the farm produce at the farm gate using the farm gate. It is that simple. So here are the savings that are generated by installing a single green shell cold room across a supply chain. So running a 15-ton cold room on grid means you are consuming approximately 130 units of grid power. But if you are running it on green shell, you are saving that much, 130 units a day, which accumulates to 4,000 units a month of grid power. And similarly, for 20 units, using a green shell system, you could save 4,800 units of grid powers each month. And so you reduce the consumption of grid power by more than 90% using a green shell system. And not only that, green shell is the cleanest refrigeration system available in India. So it saves 30 to 40 tons of carbon emissions, which means it displaces, I would say, it displaces 20 petrol cars in a year. So with the help of green shell, we have been able to reduce the post-harvest losses wherever it has been installed from 30% to less than 5%. We have been able to help farmers get them access to finance from all the public, private, and also the NBFCs, and also help them get them linked through various national and regional subsidy schemes for the green shell installations. We have also helped the farmers and the FPOs get connected to the market. So we have helped them sold more than 50 tons of produce through the green shell system. We have trained farmers on better practices on post-harvest management. We have taught them what to store, when to store, how to store, and when to sell them in the market. We have made FPCs vendors to the India's biggest e-retailers like Reliance Retail. With this, you don't need to burn the farm waste. Is that what I can say? So you can use the farm waste to run a cold room at the farm gate, and by doing this, you could reduce or save 30 to 40 tons of carbon emissions per annum. So not only that, we also train and employ women part-time workers for the sorting, grading, cleaning, and waxing of the perishable produce at the farm gate. And so this results in typical earning of approximately 5 lakh rupees per annum or more, depending on the type of produce that is being stored in the cold room at each green shell installation. So we started our journey in 2012, and it took us almost 6 years to reach the pilot stage. And today we have more than 65 installations across the 9 states, and we have been able to provide both backward, or I would say support the farming community with the backward and the forward market linkage to help them grow with our journey. So this is our team. So I have graduated out from David Eccles School of Business, University of Utah in 2014. We have Anurag Agarwal as our CTO. He's from BTech from IIT Kanpur 82 batch. and MS from Tennessee Tech in 1984. We have Mr. Ashish Vaishnav. He is spent his entire career with Thermax. We have Dr. P.V. Rao, who was previously heading the rural lending department for Axis Bank. So these are some of the sites where green shell has been installed at the individual farm level and also at the farmer producer companies. So this is the picture of how the bananas are sorted, graded, crated, and ripened in the green chill cold room using 40 kgs of biomass a day. So I will play this video for you how they are doing the ethylene, cleaning the bananas, doing the ethylene treatment before putting it in the crates and storing it in the green chill cold room for ripening. This is the installation that we have in at Thotium Banana Producer Company in Tamil Nadu. This is the one from Big Basket where we have 180 metric ton cold room running entirely on cashew waste. This is the one at Madanpalle where they are storing tomatoes and ripening bananas in Chittoor district. So this is for the storage of marigold flowers, storage of mixed green vegetables and custard apple, storage of potatoes, storage of onions, storage of lemon. So I'll show you a video how lemons are waxed before storing it in the green chill cold room. So these are some pictures. And last but not least, how we can dehydrate the produce in the green chill cold room. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Akas. Very insightful operations that you have been doing. I think what struck me the most today was the fact that you highlight that in terms of renewable energy, solar panels, it's often expensive and cannot be deployed everywhere. But this is why solutions such as the one you're providing using biomass is going to help farmers a little bit more better compared to the solar panels. Thank you. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to open the floor for questions and answer. We have already 3 questions that have been floated to us. Perhaps I can start with the first one that I think goes to you, Akash, because you touch upon providing access to solutions, post-harvest solutions to farmers. Someone want to ask, how do you scale post-harvest loss solutions to remote areas so that farmers can access the solutions at an affordable rate?
Thank you so much for the question. So we have been, so I would say we have engaged in the rural marketing. So we have been present and living with the farming community for last 5 years. We try to understand their needs and try to build a better product with their feedback. So we are with them 24 hours for 365 days as part of their community. And we not only try to provide a technological solution, we also help them, as I said, providing a backward and a forward linkage. Because for the farmers, it is just like entering a new business. So we try our best to provide a hand-holding support. And as you know, in the agriculture sector, it is a word of mouth, word of mouth. So with every story that we have been able to create, a positive impact that we have been able to create, we have been able to replicate each installation, or I would say installation in that cluster to 5 times in last 2 to 3 years. So that is how we have been successful.
All right. Thank you, Akash. Thank you for that answer. I think that should give a little bit more insight on how we can provide access of post-harvest loss solutions to farmers moving forward in our initiative. The next question is for you, Mr. Mathur. We get a lot of these questions because we focus in the previous presentation. We said we will focus on 4 crops: tomatoes, onion, potatoes, and apples. A lot of our participants have asked, what about the other crops? Can the solutions we found in this initiative can be used in other crops such as wheat, oranges, etc.?
Yes, absolutely. I think most solutions as they are developed are more crop agnostic, especially I would say aggregation solutions that I talked about, right? Digital tech that I talked about. I think they are more or less crop agnostic. But when it comes to, let's say, cold store solutions or warehousing solutions, there'll be some bit of changes. Like, for example, apple can be in CA storage for months, right? But I don't think oranges and mangoes can be in CA storage for months. You can't prolong the shelf life beyond maybe a couple of weeks. So there'll be some nuances from fruit to fruit, from crop to crop. So I think when it comes to storage and transportation, there would be some customization that might be needed for the crops. But otherwise, I would say most solutions, especially digital tech solution, aggregation solutions, more or less are crop agnostic. And I think Akash also mentioned in the temperature ranges and stuff like that. I think one has to follow SOPs, and I think those SOPs are available. And as long as your product is able to cater to those ranges of temperatures and humidity, and I think it can be taken care of.
Right. Okay. So the answer is yes. There are certain solutions which can be used in other crops, but we also need to take a look at a little bit more how those can be integrated. We need to make sure that we don't create one-for-all solutions, which will, maybe ended up costing farmers damage in the future, perhaps. Okay. The next question is for actually Green Pots Lab. I believe Vijay is with us. Vijay, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
One of participants asked, what is the time frame for the starch that needs to be used in post-harvest? And what is the cost of the application for the product? And have you done, essentially they want to know whether you've done cost and profit analysis. How does that work?
Perfect. Yeah, thanks for the question. So basically what we recommend to integrate our product is at the farm gate. So the early the integration of our solution, the better the shelf life that we'll be able to get. So that answers the first part of the question. And second part, the cost benefit analysis goes based on the crop. So for any premium crop, for every rupee invested, there could be upwards of 10x value.
Okay. And what is the time frame where you can be when the sachet can be optimally used? We're talking about maybe 2 weeks after post harvest.
Yeah, sure. So these sachets are meant to travel through the supply chain. So as soon as the harvest is done and once the sachets are integrated, it travels from the farm gate till the end consumer. So it's meant for a one-time use. So tomato, I would say for the example of tomato, which generally lasts for about 4 to 5 days in a long supply chain routes. By using our solution, you can extend it about 40 to 70%. So which means up to 7 to 8 days it can move forward.
Great. Okay. So it's one-time use 6 to 8 days. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I mean, again, shelf life is a factor of maturity and more like temperature and humidity conditions as well. So everything is relative with respect to shelf life extension. That's why we talk in terms of the percentage. So a typical shelf life extension can be anywhere between 6 to 8 days.
Great, thank you. Okay. We only have one more questions for today. We only have one more questions. Now it's for all three experts. What do you think the digital platform that we will roll out in the project? How do you think it can help in tackling the existing issues of post harvest? Maybe we can start with Mr. Batur.
Yeah, no, I think this is very unique, creating a digital platform. I don't know anyone who has done it. So we have to set the rule book and we can paint as we want it to be, right? But I would like to see a lot of users and innovators coming together. I think that's first thing. The discovery should be easy, for likes of Akash and Deepak to reach out to the customers, and likewise customers or reach out to them, right? And especially, let's say, SMEs and smaller companies who don't even probably know about these solutions. So can we create more awareness? So I think that's one part of the digital platform that I think we should think through. How do we build that a sort of marketplace of sorts where users and service providers can come together? Second, I would also like to see some bit of interesting research on the platform, not necessarily from India, from across the world. What are the best practices? Who's doing it? We should benchmark what we're doing in India, and we should learn from them. If there's an opportunity, why don't we bring some of them to India and hopefully take some from India to other markets? So give it a bit of a global flavor, if possible, and create more research and case studies and data points, for these innovations. So I think that could be probably 2 points that I want to add at this stage.
Great. Akash, now your inputs.
Yes, I do agree with Hemendra. How could we put this platform to use? So basically, the farmer, I would say, sitting in Punjab would not be connected to the activity going in Tamil Nadu. So I think with such a platform, if we can help connect two regions with the best practices, and so if you are working on a technology on post-harvest loss for savings of tomatoes in Tamil Nadu, how can we implement it simultaneously in Punjab? So I think if we can connect the dots and bring closer the community, and I think that will make it successful across the country.
Yeah, understood. So essentially, it is also important that we need to make sure that the solutions are available everywhere and not just in certain parts of India. Yeah. Vijay from Viewpoints.
Yeah, thank you. So I think like both of them said, there is a lot of opportunities here. I think with respect to post-harvest losses, the situation in the country is pretty much in the very early stages of development. So there are a lot of opportunities in the digital space. What, in my personal opinion, what I feel is like there are a lot of market aggregators that are present in the pre-harvest side. Post-harvest doesn't have a significant presence in that sense. So digital platform can certainly enable that. For a country like India, there are too many barriers like language, literacy. So the digital platform can enable communication way just beyond text. Across multiple people are working on a lot of use cases that have been gathered all across the country, even in the global platform. So these use cases remain as a very small cluster and reaches out to a very small group of audience to whom it is very relevant. But a digital platform can kind of scale it up to a wider audience, and many people can take leverage out of things like this. There are many people who are so keen in the agricultural space, want to provide mentorship, want to get their hands in, learn and do things. So this platform can also act as people who are providing freelancing mentorship or connections who can go to for very specific queries or solving very specific problem in their field. So there are plenty of opportunities. I think a digital platform can do many of these things, in my opinion.
Thank you everyone for the great insights and most importantly for the questions. Unfortunately, we don't have more time for further questions. I see a lot more questions being asked here, and we will take that offline. With that, then we'll close to the session. I would like to thank you all of our experts for coming here, startup champions, Akash and Deepak, Mr. Hemendra Mathur. I would like to also thank you, Ms. Alcapaila, who is here with us, supporting us every step of the way. Like I said, our partnership in this particular initiative is just beginning. There is a lot more big stuff planned for the next 12, 15 months, and you will surely hear from us because, like I said, like the experts also said, it is important that we engage everyone who is involved in this issue so that everyone can benefit along the supply chain. With that, Ms. Pila, would you like to say a few closing remarks?
Well, just very few words. I'm just, I'm very impressed regarding your presentations. Thank you very much again to the two startups who presented the innovative solutions. I think I said already, these are, well, two examples contributing and doing the first step regarding the prevention or reduction of post-harvest losses. Thank you very much again to everybody who is who was already in the November session and also today contributing. And well, I wish us every success to the activities, to the upcoming activities. Thanks a lot, and especially to you, Mr. Gosh, and your team for organizing everything.
Thank you very much. As you know, GIZ also works on potato, tomato, and apple value chains, and we will, of course, happy to engage in developing innovations and technologies and enterprises moving forward. Thank you, dear participants, for being here. Thank you again for everyone. Wish you a really pleasant evening ahead. And yeah, please join us again for our future activities on our post-harvest loss initiative. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.